Are you ready to start streaming? Yes.
Tony Caravan.
You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
Rock Flux.
Making up the rules as we go along.
And here we are. Again, it's 6:34 a.m. on the eastern seaboard. And if you saw the title card, it's a sunrise from the East Coast. And I'm going to try to do this first. I've got the air conditioner on, and the computer seems to be activating. And a friend of mine is taking some photos. So the daily image today. Here's a photo. Here's a live photo. I mean, this about live as you could get. But this is, I have to pull this down. I know it's going to shoot my CPU up, but this is an actual photo taken today, this morning, of the sunrise on the East Coast from an undisclosed location. And you know, it's interesting. Before I got on the air, this Trey Fergus took this photo. Before I got on the air, the coloring out in my backyard, I went out to feed the birds, and I was commenting into myself, my self-commentary, that there was this really strange, just at sunrise, there was this, because that's when I went out there. The coloring was very unique, and I knew I have no camera here that could capture it. It was almost like that kind of color, you know, but it was in my backyard, greenish backyard. But anyway, this photo is an exclusive, and this is what it looked like, literally, probably within the last half hour or so. We'll look at that again a little bit later. And what we're also going to look at here, and this might be a little more difficult to do, is, and let me see if I can do that. How I do this. I know I set it up. This might take a little longer to do. Here we go. Wait a second. All right. Restart playback when source becomes active. Here we go. I think this might work. This is a live view. Or this is, like I say, as near live view as you can of another one of Trey's photos. Trey's view. This is a short vid. This is the sunrise in the ocean live on the East Coast. Right? Like I said, this is the last one. Man, I wish I was there. Look how beautiful. That's why the title card, I used another photo by Trey for the title card. I wanted to do this one earlier. He's out taking photos of sunrises on a daily basis. And, this is we'll come back to that in a second. Let's just look at the title card just to get an idea. This is another sunrise from another day by Trey. And it's just it sounds, cliche, but the awe-inspiring beauty of nature. I mean, when you think of all the insanity in the world, and in this country mainly, because the world is the world, and I don't want to sound cold or callous, but they've got to deal with their own problems too. But here, we live in such a beautiful, beautiful planet. Like, what was that song? It's a beautiful world. We live in a beautiful world. I forget the author of that. But it's just utterly, it's breathtaking. And I think today's show will talk a little bit about that. Because, as far as I'm concerned, what are we really doing, wasting our time, arguing over political issues, How did politics become pop culture? Why are we caught up in these, and people are caught up in such selfish things, It's fine when you're sitting around with, if you want to have a discussion with friends about something, but, not to be so obsessed, have your life be so obsessed with it, and again, back to this media source. This is something new that I'm trying to. It takes a little more out of the computer, and you have to keep it running. But like I say, this is this morning. I'm looking at here is the ocean wave sunrise on the East Coast of the Caravan. Literally, probably about a half hour, 45 minutes ago. This is as close to real time as you can get. On a YouTube live podcast. Unless I'm broadcasting. Isn't that just a beautiful sight? It just automatically turned itself off, which is fine. All right. Welcome to the show.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
I had a few brewskis yesterday afternoon, as I said I was probably going to do. I'm set up with the hat and the gear, so we got the total round face. Vanity. And I've got the morning show mug going. I forget if I took a Tylenol with this cola. Fago Cola. I ordered from Instacart yesterday while I was having some beers. And apparently they're expanding the amount of stores. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, and and I've had good experiences and not so good experiences. But nonetheless, it's nice when someone delivers something to your door and you don't have to really do anything about it. I'm just looking over some of my notes here from yesterday. Foil hat for show. No, I'm not wearing a foil hat today. I forgot to do that. I should have crafted one. And that's about it. So, yeah, welcome to the show. Welcome. Hola. Good morning and greetings and felicitations. Glad you could make it. Right. So, I've got the air conditioner on and I'm sweating it out because, like I've said before, this is an old Hawaiian shirt that I cut the sleeves so it just like fits a little more comfortable. But to tell you the truth, I should probably be wearing a longer sleeve shirt because with that air conditioner on, it gets cold in here. But it helps my CPU on this computer. I think one of the things about the age of this computer is that it heats up faster. I don't know. I'm really literally only have two minor applications open.
Channel check. Left channel. Left channel.
And that audio comes from another machine completely. It's just an audio input. All right, let's get into it. The beauty of nature. We talked about, what to believe. Yesterday it was like what to believe anywhere. There's so much out there. Everybody's like trying to tell you something. It's like information overload if you think about it. Right? And, some of the stuff is very believable. Some of the stuff you could almost, take it to the bank, so to speak, because there's hard evidence. Other things are corroborated by various sources or people, and other things are just things you like with the Mulder poster in the back here. You can't see the eye. It's I want to believe there's a UFO, but it's out of sight. I just don't have enough space in the background to really make. If those darn pipes weren't here, these things, these two, whatever. I'd have a little bit more room. But it's like it's a crowded set already, Anyway, yeah, so yesterday afternoon I decided, well, you heard the story of the morning, and I decided, you know what, noontime, I'm going to have, drink a few beers. I don't know what I ended up drinking. I'm five beers out of the 6-pack are gone, but I think I didn't drink really. Most of the fifth one I didn't drink. I was drinking out of a tall mug, chilled mug, which holds almost, it's got to hold 12 ounces at least. 16-ounce mug probably, but I had some ice cubes in it. I drink my beer with ice, but never drink beer with ice like from a bar. I can remember one time I used to always drink beer with ice from a bar, and I never thought twice because I used to own a bar, and we always followed, there's stringent rules on how you clean your glasses, how you keep your ice, and all that kind of stuff. But I remember I got a beer one time, and there was like a beer on ice, because that's all I always would say. Yeah, put a couple ice cubes in there. And someone refilled my glass, and it tasted a little bit like rum and Coke. And I'm thinking, oh man, this bartender is just, isn't using any kind of, scoop to put the ice in the glasses. It's just like scooping the ice out with the glass, and I'm drinking, And I can remember that same bar. Another time, I was deathly ill for a day. Talk about a stomach virus, yeah. And So, you got to wash. So I stopped doing that. Unless I used to be in this Irish pub I used to hang out with this girl. I used to know a couple of these girl bartenders, but this one girl. And so, people I trusted and I knew, I would let them put ice in my beer. But imagine that. How you could spread anything, from, the idea of people just don't think. Anyway, that's a weird thing. Well, anyway, so I probably only had like 4.5 beers. But I was like, I did it from noon till about 2-ish, or whenever my delivery came, 1:30, 2-ish. It wasn't like I was even drinking long, but I was like hungover. Not this morning, but like in the evening, because I drank so early, And I don't know, it's kind of a strange thing, I don't know. I also put a little salt and lime, like I was chopped lime, like I make my beers like margarita, beers, kind of lime. Yesterday I had a fresh lime in the refrigerator. It's been sitting there for a while. I figured it's time I cut it up. So I had fresh lime juice and a little bit of margarita salt in my beer. I was drinking a light beer. I mean, the light beer, the one that's called light. And it just tastes a lot better. But I don't know if if it was the lime and the salt. You put the lime in the coconut and drink 'em both up. If it was something like that, And unfortunately, she never showed up. Maybe I wouldn't have a hangover. I would have had a better night of sleep, too. Yeah. So, the beauty of nature, and let's see, what did I put in the title card? Living in the real world. Living in the real world. So, this is a far cry from, like I say, this idea of all these tales of tragedy, catastrophe, economic disaster, politics, dirty politics, organized crime syndicates running corporatocracies, governments collapsing, and all this crazy stuff. Enough of that stuff for a day. All right? We don't know, like I said yesterday, we don't know what to believe. I want to believe some of these things are true, but I really don't want to believe some of these things are true. And so, at the same time, what comes up and clashes with that is this beauty of nature. I've talked before, when I talk about, the bioelectric brain, and these bodies and our consciousness, the soul experience, spiritual experience of life. That's the real life. And that these people walking around who are just like, they're like androids, literally like zombies, but they're robotic, they're conditioned, to me they're soulless. It's as if they don't have a consciousness. We make these assumptions because you don't know what you don't know. Like my shirt says that I've shown you, TonyCaravanLive.com. Go there. Say this all the time, but nobody goes. I'm going to also update Great Solar Stuff to include these things we talked about yesterday, but I'm not going to dwell on them today. And that is these items. Things that people should have. Some of them may seem quite bizarre to you. All right? The main thing is the jackery and radio from Great Solar Stuff down the bottom, rainwater collection, and a filter, water filter. But, that's the negative side. But it's also part of the, it's the idea of living in the natural world and realizing, it makes you wonder, why are these people out in the street? We want this, we want that. Or they're so selfish, their issue, right? And they have to force their belief or their obsessive beliefs system onto us. Whereas most of us are just open-minded enough to go like, hey, that's cool, man. If you're into that, that's whatever. Go for it, cool. Live and let live, do your thing, I'm all for it. Like I say, I don't, days pass by where I don't even encounter people, and I don't know so much about, Trey here, but, this morning he took here, he's out there, probably most of the time by himself. Look at that beauty. This is this morning. This is today. This is a picture a guy took today. What it looked like today. And then you think, and then you get into this. Like I say, I'm going to go back to this a couple of times because, for me, and I hope you can see it. You see at the very beginning that bird. Forget about what I have to do. Let's see as much of this picture. Taking this but it's like, crisp as possible. Hopefully we're viewing this on the screen. And that's this morning. It's July 13th, calendar year 2021. Lucky 13. Here's a bird. Look at that bird. And the sun rising. And there's clouds in the sky. And the ocean surf. I don't have the capability. I think there might have been sound on this thing, but that wouldn't matter. But my capabilities and this media playback, I couldn't tell it. Look at that. And when you look at that, and then you contrast that with these selfish people that are trying to force ideologies and people to change and follow their lead, follow the leader, They want to alter society, alter the way people think. They go after weak-minded people. They loot, right? Assault. 20,000 homicides in the U.S. a year. And clearly, when I present that as evidence, just like the daily image of this picture from this morning, all right? Trey's picture from this morning. And the idea is that I rest my case when I talk about these people are soulless and have no conscience. Because how could you, living in this beautiful world, and this is the beauty of nature of, at the seashore, at the coast, and you could see a sunrise in, practically anywhere. Sunrise over a mountain, sunrise over in a valley, different, over sunrise at a farm, But the idea is that you have these five senses, and and if you don't have an appreciation for beauty, there's something lacking in you, and you know, it goes beyond the point. It's like I said, it's not critical or trying to demean a person, but I mean, it's a mental deficiency if you cannot appreciate beauty. You know, I mean, and including this, I mean, and I'm not joking. I mean this. I mean, this beauty. You know, you've got 5 senses, and one of them is skin, and there's a lot of skin showing there. And to touch that skin, that's beauty. All right? You know, the same as this photo, you know, of another sunrise by Trey. You know, it's like, and people worry about looting for a pair of sneakers or breaking people's windows or, you know, getting caught up into some ideological war. You know? It's like, live in the real world. This is the real world. I just got a notification. It's garbage day. Regular followers of the show will know last Monday, which should have been a holiday, it ended up the garbage men decided apparently July 4th, the Monday after July 4th, is no longer considered a holiday. Workers unite. Demand that. Wasn't July 4th always like a, you know, like a 3-day weekend? You know, if not a 4-day weekend? It's crazy. Anyway, so I had to triple bag my garbage and hold it in my porch for a week. So I had like 3 bags of garbage out there. Hope they take it. It better. But yeah, that's the title card. The beauty of nature. Yeah. And you have these eyes, those of us who can see. Some people can't see. But those of us who have eyes to see, we can appreciate that sunset. And if you've got ears to hear, you know, if you've got your ability, your hearing, you can hear the sound of that surf. You know? You can walk along that beach. You could take your shoes off and feet in the sand or feet right at the edge of the ocean, you know, and feel that. Smell the fresh ocean air, you know. And it's like, what's more beautiful than that? And you know, the meaning of life. Like I say, the meaning of life is very simple. It's this soul experience. It's to experience this. And our consciousness, you know, allows us to do that. There is no other purpose. You know? There's no other purpose. You know? Some kind of $200 shoe? Sneaker? You know, some materialistic thing? I mean, take your sneakers off and walk barefoot at the beach. For crying out loud. I just find it, you know, hard to believe, you know, that people don't see that. And then at the same time, you know, and I won't dwell on this, but, you know, the CDC, these leading causes of death, yet 1 million people are dying, over 1 million, some people are dying every year from all of these things that most of which are preventable, treatable, if not curable. And yet we allow that to happen. You know, all because the focus is on these selfish issues by people that just are obsessed with forcing their ideology onto us. And like I said, I don't care. I don't care what you feel, what you do. That's your thing. That's why I stopped doing the Twitter thing. Yeah. Now, I have a locals channel, TonyCaravanLive.locals.com, and I believe Locals is experimenting with live. So go to TonyCaravanLive.locals.com and subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. They do have some kind of pay thing there, but it's not mandatory, and I'm not asking for any money, because I think I may be migrating there, assuming their live thing, that I can interface with their live setup. I've tried some of the other ones. I've tried, some of the other video sites. I post links of my videos, on social media, but I don't interact rarely. And I apologize to people who watch my videos and comment on social media, because I don't get a chance to go over all these social media sites. I just don't do that anymore. I mean, I was big time into Twitter, and I was like getting thousands of followers and all this kind of thing there for, back when I was playing the political game, getting caught up in that, politics as pop culture. But then, I don't know. It was just, for me, I was killing time. It was a hobbyist thing. I don't know what it was. It was a lapse in sanity is what it really was. And what I'm saying is that what a waste of time that is. What a real waste of time. When we live in this beautiful world, we can experience all of this. These things. It's the same with, like I say, beyond the beach thing, you also have the taste. You can taste great foods and drink and things. I mean, we're given these 5 senses, maybe 6, for all practical purposes. I believe we have 6 senses. I believe we have, if we open our minds, we have a 6th sense. And yet, there's such a focus by these, let's call it what it is, functionally illiterate people that just can't see beyond, their programming, their indoctrination. They're just basically so conditioned by media, an education system, right? This, idea of social engineering, by the state, the nanny state that raises these people now, that they just can't see the forest for the trees. I guess I was trying to say that before when we were looking at the beach picture, sunrise. It's the same view when you're looking out over a valley. Surrounding where I live, surrounding me, there's like the northern Appalachian Mountains pass. You can see from my 3rd floor. My building my house, you know, is it's not it doesn't have a really big footprint. It's hard to believe, but it's less than like 20 feet wide. But the lot I have is almost 200 feet long. You know, I have a detached garage at the other end of it, and I have a yard. That's why I have a big garden. But anyway, this house is only about 19, 20 feet wide. But it goes up to where I have an attic, which is literally finished off. So it's a third floor. It's hard to call. It's not really an attic. And above that would be what would be an attic, but it would be like a small, what people would think is a conventional attic that you basically, you know, it's not a crawl space, but there's not much room, but it's a high pitched roof, which means when I'm on the third floor of my house and there's a window up there that faces, I can see over top of the other houses, and I could see this view, you know, of these mountains that, you know, surround this kind of valley where I'm located in. And it's beautiful. And I could watch the sun rise over the mountains here. And I could watch the sun set over the mountains, you know, to the west. Like I say, this morning it was really interesting color. I came in the house after feeding the birds, and I'm washing my hands, and I'm just glancing out the window back at the bird feeder to see if any birds have jumped in to grab their safflower seed. And the color was just amazing. And it was very similar to this, you know? It was like, it was very similar to that, you know? It's amazing. And that's a photo from this morning. So, legendary white handkerchief. Cleaned often, my friends. Cleaned often. In fact, who knows? I may have to do laundry again today. The trials and tribulations of being a bachelor. Things you have to do. Keeping a house, keeping a garden, dealing with crazy neighbors, doing this kind of thing, you know, dealing with crazy technology, having this to run this AC. Now, today we didn't do it. We might as well do it while I have the air conditioner on, because otherwise, you know.
Weekend.
Well, it's not the weekend. Actually, I wanted.
The Weather Watch forecast.
All right, let's look at the Weather Watch forecast for the day. And currently, it's... Why did it give me that? Gave me the wrong city. It's 72 degrees outside my studio. Looks like today's going to be one of those partly sunny, partly cloudy. It's like glass half full, half empty type thing. Yesterday, it was the same, you know, the sun peeking through the cloud, but it turned out I went outside and it was really way more clouds than sun. I wasn't able to really, you know, get my full dosage of vitamin D sunlight. It's going to be, according to my voice assistant, she claimed it was going to be 87 degrees today. This one is saying 80. What is today? Today's Tuesday. Oh, this isn't telling me what it is. So it's supposed. So let's take the voice assistant's word. It's going to go up to 87, probably 90. So in the back of my yard, which is south facing, where my garden is and where my patio and lounge chair is, you know, it's going to be 90, 100 degrees out there. And I know which the overnight will probably be in the 70s like last night, which means nothing because it's 72 in the morning, and that's considered that's when you get the low right before sunrise is when the night is as dark as the night is going to get. It's a line from a obscure song. That's when it's 70, which means that 2 a.m. if you have an 87 degree day, 2 a.m. it might still be 80 degrees out there or in the high 70s. So it's not good sleeping weather. But since this is a forecast, tomorrow, Wednesday, it's looking like 81 degrees and the overnight's going to be 66. But then it's going to pop back up into 88, 88. Anyway, that's that. So...
The Weather Watch forecast.
So that's that. So much. I'm in the mid-Atlantic states, near the... like I said this all the time, it's very hard to describe location-wise. I'm up in the mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, and northern Appalachian area. Where is it exactly? And it's like, well, I move around a lot. So I used to have this. I used to have a place nearby this area. There were two places. I rented one place, but I used to have a place nearby this area, and that place no longer exists. Well, it exists, but it's a story about someone who destroyed most of my life's possessions that were stored there, who was renting this space, who was a hoarder. I talk about that all the time. But they're only material things, so they don't compare to the real world and the beauty of nature. So it doesn't really matter. And besides, look behind me. I still have all this stuff. We all have too much stuff, You come into this world with nothing and you leave with nothing, I don't have any kids, so I have no legacy. I have nothing to, pass on. Now, I have the air conditioning on. I am cold. And I do this all the time, but I have to demonstrate. My ice cubes have melted in my cup. And I'm going to do this again because I just have to. Here's the electromagnetic radiation thing. You see how it's going off? And I don't know if you can even see, if you look closely at the bottom, that flashing light, well, you can't see it, but there's a word harmful. So when I point this, I'm pointing this here. It's harmful radiation. When I point it away, you see the light stopped? Because over there's a wall on a futon. I point it back towards the computer here. Look at it. And there's actually, listen, a warning signal. This is a scientific device. It's not a toy. It's not like something, It's a real thing. And my ice cubes melt from radiation. I'm only 44 minutes into this show, so I'm going to do two things. Number one, it's cold in this room. I'm going to disconnect my, not disconnect the show. This show's going on for another hour at least. I'm going to give you a little bit of a musical interlude here, and I'm going to get a couple more ice cubes, and I'm going to turn the air conditioner off. See, I'm going to disconnect by doing this, I can leave the room without having to take all this electronic stuff off of me. I'm going to get myself some ice cubes, and I'll be right back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
Rock Flux.
Let's get this show on the
I
road.
clicked the wrong button. Bob Thompson. Name of that song is Starfire. He sent me that back in the 90s when I used to do a lounge show. The longest running lounge show on the internet. A webcast. The beached whale has returned. I'll tell you, man. It's like, I guess I did gain weight too. You know, it's like, if I drink, I could gain like 5 pounds overnight. You know, I mean, it's like, I don't know, water retention? What is that? But no, it's not really, because it takes me like about 3 days to lose those 5 pounds. Just doing normal activity. I'm not a big eater. In fact, I'm growing a salad out back, and I have more lettuce than I know what the hell to do with. So it's just kind of a weird thing. Anyway.
Making up the rules as we go along.
You know, vanity, you know.
Delicious.
But I just filled this up with ice cubes. Let's see if I can. There you go. See those cubes? We'll see how long they last. I turned the air conditioner off and I closed the door. This is a smaller room. The former owner of this building, before I bought it, of course, he passed on a while back, but the building sat idle for a little while. This room, this small room in the front room, was a barber shop. I've said this before, but I always say that. I've said this before, blah, blah, blah. Even though nobody, right now, you know, I don't even know if there's anybody watching this thing. I don't think there is. Except for the YouTube algorithm, making sure I don't wrong speak, you know. But anyway, I didn't get the barber chair. There weren't anything, you know, wasn't anything left in here. Got my San Diego hat on. So, yeah, let's get back into this thing. Because, I mean, this topic is really, you know, people just don't talk about this stuff anymore. It's like, you know, my topic a couple of episodes ago was about love. You know. And, you know, and I was talking about how people just don't, there's no love. And I don't just mean romantic love, but the idea of like love has become literally a 4-letter word in the negative sense with this, you know, current, you know, these self-centered ideologues. Because because it's pretty clear that we're, you know, this, you call it authoritarian, totalitarian state, whatever, this, World Economic Forum stuff, real scary stuff, these people. I'm not going to dwell on that today because we're going to talk about the beauty of nature and things like that. But, getting back to the love idea, in that same vein, it's very hard for people to force their ideology on you to create some kind of totalitarian police state or authoritarian global government, right? To get people to walk in lockstep if they are, conscious beings who love and have an appreciation for the beauty of nature. Living in the natural world. Because those people are like, well, what are you talking about? Who cares about that? Those are secondary things. Politics should not be pop culture. Pop culture should be, take it any way you want to. Pop culture should be the bikini, right? That's pop culture, right? The mini skirt, Pop culture should be, aren't we due for a new style of music, right? I've talked about that in the past, many times. But I think I dedicated a show to it, or at least a long portion of a show. But it's worth revisiting, talking about the beauty of nature, and maybe we'll look at, this. But the idea that, and I listen to it because, see, now that I have the Amazon Echo Dot and, and so I've got two of these things. I've got one by the bedside that at nighttime to go to sleep, I'll have it play some, music that's soothing type of thing so I could just relax. And like yesterday when I was just hanging out, drinking some beers at my bar in my kitchen, which I have instead of a, most people have their island or whatever you want to call it. I've got a wooden, old-fashioned wooden bar I set up. But I've hooked mine. It has an audio out. So whoever designed this thing, they had their act together. It's got an audio out jack. 1/8-inch audio out, and I plug that into my system, so I got these Bose speakers on the wall, and I'm cranking tunes. I'm using it as a jukebox, and so I'm listening to all this, really, cool music, stuff that I don't have in my collection, and I have like 10,000 songs or more in my collection, and it's just, that's pop culture, music. And over the decades, I started listening to some blues singers from the 40s, and then just got into different, wherever my mind was taking me, I'd just say, play this, play that, And so how did politics become pop culture? How did these issues that people have, these personal self-centered issues, become to front and center? Right? When most people really don't have have a problem with it. I could disconnect my headphones for a second. I had a knot in my connective device. See that connection? Believe it or not, this was a major accomplishment. Because when I used to have to do something like, because in case, if the CPU starts going up, I'll have to turn the air conditioner up. And I say this, I'm not going to, how many times have I said I say this all the time, or I've said this before, or, please stop me. I'm a human being. What can I do? But that air conditioner goes back to the barbershop days. And the barbershop, I think, probably was big in the, he was probably 60s or 70s. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to find history here. My neighbor is a psychopath, literally a psychopath. Like I've talked about in my previous show, they like kind of broke in my yard because my fern plants or something and some other plants were growing too tall, or growing through the fence or something. They couldn't see. I intentionally have grown things to like make my backyard this like green. I've got grapevines and trees and hedges and flowers, and of course I have a garden, but I mean the whole side of this, like I say, I have this thin but it's a long plot of land. And so you have to imagine it when you walk in it, you're surrounded. My idea was to have it almost completely enveloped with green, be they vines, hedges, obscure plants. And I have a bird feeder, and these birds bring all this exotic stuff, because that's what birds do. They sit on the bench and they crap out whatever they ate from wherever. I mean, I have like blackberry. I had fresh blackberries I ate this year because the birds have brought, and this blackberry bush has started to grow. Unfortunately, it's under this grapevine. I got to figure a way to like open that up so next year that thing can flourish. But anyway, so it's the idea so that when I'm in my backyard, I'm in this world, and there's a street, to this side of me, and it's fairly heavy traffic, and there's some big trucks, and so I don't want that exhaust and the sound and all that stuff. And so I have set up this patio, and my garden is at the very end of my property line, where I have this little garage, which is like just kind of my workshop. Actually I got so much stuff. I mean, not like stuff, but I mean like boxes. I get stuff delivered to me because I don't drive anymore. And so, when you order stuff, I mean, I forget what it was the other day, but there was a box I got from Amazon. I mean, it was like this big, and I'm picking it up, and it's like so light. Like, what the? And it was just filled with all those, air-filled plastic things, that they use to keep whatever. And inside it was some tiny thing. I'm trying to even think what it was, but I mean, it was like maybe something the size of like this. What a waste. So anyway, I just keep getting these boxes. And so I've got, you slice them up, flatten them out. I have a stack of flattened boxes out there that's outrageous. Now, I use some of them at the end of the season to cover my garden area. All right? And that's worked out well. That keeps, I don't have that, weeds. So a lot of people don't know that if you block off a weed, or even just cut a weed, like these people who dig down and think they're digging the roots out of dandelions and stuff like that. I talked before, dandelions have a purpose and they serve a purpose, and that you think you've pulled the whole root out. Now there's like a tap root that goes down way down further. But no, if you just first of all, early in the season, if you have a garden, or if you just care about, like, because this problem with bees, we need bees, are so important to pollinate things. And the dandelion is one of the first flowers to come up. We call it a weed, but so it's the first chance for when bees are emerging from their hive, the ones that have survived the winter, that it's a source of pollen for those bees. So, you really shouldn't, you should let that first round of dandelion, however, people think it's unsightly or whatever, they can't stand it. Some people are like, weeds. No, just let it be, so those bees can, get started. Because your garden, as you know, even if you just are one of those people that grow the most common thing, like a tomato, the tomato plant, the first thing that grows on tomatoes are leaves, lots of leaves. You don't get the flowers for a while. So they're not, and a lot of other plants, even flowers, my flowers, I plant like flowers, to bring the pollinators in, because I have pepper plants, zucchini, squash, tomatoes, of course, various plants that need to be pollinated by bees. And so, and then there's also things like marigolds you can put that, dogs and different things like towards the front of my house in the corners where they'll take a whiff of them and they won't do their business in that spot. Do it somewhere else, But to finish this is that once the season has begun, just mow down those dandelions. Because what happens, they need to get the leaves. First of all, the soil needs those I think it's the nitrogen, whatever. They're rich in something. All nature's connected. It's a nature show. And it's one of the purpose of dandelions is that there's a deficiency of what the leaves offer. Dandelion leaves offer in your soil, and that's why sometimes you'll get this unbelievable. One year you might see all of these dandelions, and that's because your soil has a deficiency, and those leaves need to just rot down and get into that and add that to the soil. But what happens with any kind of weed or plant or anything like that is that it just mow it over. Don't rake it up, because people are into like making their lawn like it's a golf course, right? That's the part that cracks me up. And they have these like weed killer things that are just getting into the water supplies or just destroying things, or who knows, get into plants and give you cancer. But just mow over it, because what happens is after so many times of not getting, not allowing the photosynthesis process to occur, all right, that's what the leaves absorb, just like we in effect are like plants, because the sun activates so much stuff in our bodies besides getting that vitamin D that boosts our immune system, which is a reality. That's why they wanted to lock people down. It's like the thing was, people needed a proper instruction would have been like something like, hey, get out in the sun, try to get 20 minutes, a half hour of sunlight a day. I don't know who said it. It was even in a show or something I watched, but sun is like nature's disinfectant on top of everything else, UVB rays. They use them in hospitals. They use them in water filtration, or filtration, but I mean in water treatment, to kill bacteria and stuff. UV rays are pretty crazy. They clean, they kill it all. But yeah, if whether it's a dandelion or another weed, if it doesn't get enough sun for its photosynthesis process and stuff, then the roots just die out. And it still serves its purpose, the twofold purpose, well, threefold purpose really. A, it was an early pollination, right? And then B, those leaves are are going to just, basically compost into the soil and add those minerals or whatever it is that's missing from the soil. I've seen that the purpose is if the soil's too tight, it helps loosen the soil, which also serves to make the soil better. Earthworms kind of do that too and stuff. There's all kinds of really neat things that people don't know. It's like I even talk about the fungi. My chair fell down again. I've got to get a better chair. But it's starting to get warm in here, but the CPU is still around 6%, so far so good. But if you see me freeze up, or my mouth starts to get out of sync, then you'll see me, I'll make a mad dash for the air conditioner. But like I said, this is an old air conditioner. I mean, it's probably runs on Freon, which has been like kind of outlawed or something. I think they make some exceptions in some cases, but it's built into the wall because this was built as a barber shop, this front room, and it is ancient, but it still works. But I've only ever turned it on, like, we're in the dog days of summer now. Like, you see the people going like, oh no, the earth is, the climate, is blah blah blah. Yeah, I touched on this before too. I don't know what that was. Something just fell. I don't know. This house is haunted. The other night, my Echo Dot thing in my bedroom, in the middle of the night, like 3 o'clock, just turned on and started playing like loud music. And I'm like, stop playing that music. Okay. And then I said, hey, used its name. Why did you do that? And it answered, I don't know. Weird. But, so, I only ever turned the air conditioner on during the dog days of summer, which run from July 3rd to August 14th. And so there are people out there right now on, the media machine, which is this all-encompassing thing, right? And they're making, and this happens every year, and it's almost laughable. I mean, I'm glad I don't have kids, but I feel sorry for people who have kids, because kids are being tormented and tortured because they're being told the climate is going to, It's like, look, it's called summertime, and we're in the heart of what we call the dog days of summer. And even though in my area, which is more towards the northern part of the country, it's hot and humid, but it's still in the 80s, It's not even like we're having 99 degrees, 95 and 100% humidity, And even if we did, you would expect to get a week or so of that during the dog days of summer. It's like as if these people, this past winter, there was some news reporter, reporting on a nor'easter and was trying to tie it into climate change. And I was going like, look, man, I'm old enough to have seen snows that were like over top of we're at the top of our garage. We couldn't get out our back door. The back door of our house was like snow drifted, right? And nobody was like saying, oh, it's the end of the world and we gotta like dim the sun and eliminate fossil fuels, get rid of carbon, this, that, the other. I mean, we're a carbon-based civilization. Without carbon, we can't exist. It's a whole lie. And the beauty of nature, let's just like look at our title card again. Try to move these things into position. There's nothing wrong. That picture there Okay, supposedly, here's the story. It's like, see, this is the thing. It's like common sense. So there's a picture, you know, one of these pictures my friend Trey took. Okay, and it's good. You got everything you know is wrong is up top there. All right. So this is a picture he's taken. I don't know how many days ago this was, but you know, this is a very recent picture of a sunrise. And here's a beautiful beach, beautiful clouds, beautiful sky. All right. And I see it here, you know, because like I say, I'm out every day in my backyard, unless it's pouring down rain, right? And I talk to people all over, right? And so where's all this? What's this problem with CO2? It's 0.004% of our atmosphere, you know. What's the problem? It's the stuff that plants need in order to grow. It's the stuff that trees need, right? It's the stuff that flowers breathe, right? And there's no, you know, they don't teach the beauty of nature. You know, maybe that's the thing. They need to take these kids out on a field trip and walk along a beach, right? Or go out to a park and look at the plants, look at the flowers, look at the trees, and say, hey, this is the world, this is the planet you live on. It's beautiful, right? You know, take them to some place where they can pick, you know, berries, you know, blackberries, you know, or like, you know, in the fall, take them to an apple orchard, or even in the summertime, you know, these places where you could pick your own tomatoes and stuff, and, you know, you could eat those tomatoes, like just bite right into those tomatoes at some of these growers that allow you to go in with like a basket type of thing and just pick your tomatoes, and they're cheap too. And maybe they ought to educate children on the idea of the beauty of nature and the natural world that we live in. The sights, the sounds, the tastes, you know, the smell of flowers, or the smell of the seashore, the smell of a forest, or, you know, like I was saying about my backyard, this whole idea, like creating this almost tunnel of green, which like has set off my one neighbor. See, on the other side of my place is a doctor's office. They don't care. They're nice people. And they're not even there. They're there for during doctor's hours, you know. And there's a separation. There's like you know, they park their cars there while they're there, but I mean, and they've got doctor's hours, so they take off, you know, they're not there on the weekends, and they take off a day or two in the middle of the week half the time. So it's like they're the best neighbors you could possibly have. Plus, it's my doctor, so it's like if I need to go to the doctor, I just go over there for an appointment, just walk next door. But they don't seem to have a problem with it. But this one neighbor's nosy and then doesn't understand. It's like, no, I wanted to build this, you know, green environ so that it basically, and it, believe it or not, it works. It diffuses the sound of the street, right, when I'm in the back. And all of this greenery is giving off fresh oxygen. So there I am at the very end of my property line, where I have a patio, little patio, next to this mini greenhouse I built. Mini, it's like the size of the TARDIS on Doctor Who. All right, I use it for seed starts. In fact, it's a note I have here: seed starts for September plants. I may even do that today. Because some plants take like 60 days, so there's still right now there's about 60 days till the middle of September. So if I start some seeds, as my certain plants will go through their cycle by the middle of August or so, or yield what they're yielding, I'll have some open space in my garden, and I'll be able to plant these things that are that I grow in the greenhouse out there, and I'll be able to have those yielded. And then there's even things like you can start things like radishes, the cooler weather crops, even things like cilantro, and they'll grow right into October. Like radishes only have like a 20, I forget what it is, 22 days or something like that from seed to radish. So as long as it's before the first frost, you're fine. But yeah, I'm back there, and so I do whatever yard work I'm doing or whatever project. I'm a guy. I'm always messing around with some kind of stupid project. I wish I had more lumber. The price of lumber is so expensive. But, I'm just, so then I relax on my lounge chair, soak up some sun, and I'm breathing fresh oxygen. I get this psychopath woman, next door neighbor, like, what's he doing over there? Ain't he? They go crazy. It's like, I don't want you to see me. I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. You've already proven yourself to be some kind of nosy, psychopathic, loon. Seek mental health. But, you're not related to me, and I don't know you, and that's that. And don't break into my yard. I had to, I added extra security measures. I had to get an extra alarm and some extra motion detector lights and stuff, which is just as well because, it's a crazy world, and who knows what's going to happen. Economy's not looking like it could crash within the next year, and I guess the more defenses you have, the better. But still, the world is a beautiful place, and it's just a question of it. And you don't know, like I say, you don't know what you don't know. That's my line. Go to TonyCaravanLive.com, grab the shirt. I've got one. They're not that expensive. You can get it on a hoodie if you want to, but you can get it on a t-shirt for less than $20. But what I'm saying is that you don't know what you don't know. We don't know how many people, because I don't get TV anymore. I canceled my direct TV service. That was the last service I had because I just got tired of it. First of all, I didn't watch it much. I don't watch the news, and when things on TV have too many commercials, and I can't stand commercials. So the heck with it. I got rid of it. But, you're still exposed to it, even with, YouTube. There's, just the title cards alone, you can see, they put the stuff in your face. Everybody wants to talk about news, politics. It's like pop culture. Instead of the beauty of nature should be pop culture. My CPU's going up. Damn it. 9.1, 8.8. So I gotta watch this, because otherwise what'll happen is I'll start, if this thing doesn't, it might have been because I had that photo up for a long time. I dropped down to 6.3. Okay. As long as I stay in the 6 range, I'm all right. Sorry for the technical things, but these are the things we got to deal with. Kind of, because they're showstoppers, show ruiners. So anyway, if it happens, don't worry. I'll turn the air conditioner on. There might be some weird freezing stuff, but we'll continue the show. We still got stuff to talk about. Beauty of nature. And those ice cubes I just went in and got are like melting like as fast as they possibly can. It's insane. So that interruption, you know, disrupted my mind, what I was trying to get across. I hate that. But, you know, it still had to do with the beauty of nature. So people don't see it. So they, you know, so they're confronted with, I was talking about television and the media in general, which encompasses social media. So there, people, the average person is bombarded with this, you know, with ideology. Politics is pop culture and all this stuff. You know, it's overwhelming to them. So they can't see the forest for the trees, which is a bad analogy because they can't see they don't even see trees, period. You know, they don't see sunrises, they don't see sunsets, they don't see trees, they don't see flowers, they don't understand nature. They don't use their senses. You know, they're not living, you know, in the real world. You know, that's why there's so much this artificial intelligence and virtual reality, augmented reality. You know, things that are just tools. They're only tools. They're all cool things. I mean, I'm all for it. I like these voice assistant things. I use them all. I've got all this stuff. Look at me. I'm broadcasting to you. You know, but they're tools. They're just, you know, we happen to be a society that chose to use machines, you know, mechanical devices that, you know, and then eventually digitize things to assist us in our civilization. And I'm sure there have been past civilizations, you know, before previous cataclysms that have risen to heights, maybe even higher than we have, that may not have gone the machine digital route. You know, they may have just dealt with the beauty of nature and their 5 or 6 senses and lived full, fulfilling lives with a high quality of life. I mean, I even point back to the idea of, like, when I say Rome, you know, I mean, you know, when they unearthed Pompeii and they found these multi-story buildings with stairways and windows and tiles and baths, you know, the Romans were famous for their aqueducts and fountains and toilets. They had running water, you know. And from these mosaics, we found that, you know, they had shops and, you know, they were dressed well, you know, and all that kind of thing. They just didn't go the mechanized route. But they had roads. They were known for roads. They built a lot of roads, and they built buildings that still stand today. Now, it's not to say that they didn't fall into the same trappings as, war and conquest and all of that sort of thing. I mean, that's, unfortunately, these are the human nature's, failings, the failings of humans. But nonetheless, it was still a high civilization that just didn't happen to have smartphones, right? But you have to imagine put yourself in a situation where you were living in a home like you're living now, and you had food like you're eating now. You had friends and wine and beer right? Conversations, gardens, you could go for a walk, you could visit, you can talk, you had the same brain capability, right? And so life was life. Yeah. The same thing. And the soldiers went off and fought the wars, and if you were a soldier, you did that, but if you weren't a soldier, you were at home doing this. You didn't have a radio machine, but you went to a party and there were musicians playing music. And the music of that time was the music that people liked of the time. Kind of like what I was trying to say earlier when I was listening to like blues music from the 40s, or if you listen to, you know, as music, you know, progressed through the eras, through the decades, how it constantly changed. You know, that was culture. That was pop culture. So, you know, you'd have, you know, blues, crooners, right? Big band sounds, folk music, beat poetry, you know, roots rock and roll, you know, rock, hard rock, classic, you know, R&B, disco, punk, ska, hair metal, Seattle sound, alternative, hip hop, dance, right? Country went through its phases. Country was like a genre. You know, you got classic country, you know, and you had like pop country, you know, and all that kind of stuff, folk country, you know. And then, you know, but now when you see, you know, you talk about rock, you know, country, or, you know, hip hop or whatever, it's all the same. You know, we've been like caught in a time loop over the past 20 years or so. You know, like the music's the same. And it's not like me saying that, you know, the stories constantly come out, like where there's like there's something like 16 producers produce like the lion's share of the top 100 songs. You know, that's why they sound alike. You know, they're produced the same. It's a formulaic system now. You know, and they just keep producing these things using certain sounds and certain effects in the studios, and, you know, it's stagnation, right? Whereas in previous times you could go through one decade and there would have been 3-4 distinct styles of music that were pop culture. It's not like there isn't variety today, and you can't find this, find that, find that. I'm talking about pop culture. What was popular? That's what pop culture is. You know, so in other words, you know, what was the predominant music on the Billboard charts, you know, in 1971? What was the, and what was MTV playing the most of in 1983? Okay. You know, pop culture. What did people want? And now it's, you know, predominantly it's been the same, just blah, right? And you say, oh, there's some good stuff in there, and I'll be the first to admit it. Yeah, there's some decent stuff that's come through, of course. Just as a generalization. But the problem is popular culture, you know, usually means the majority. And so that's what's going on in people's minds. They're being like conditioned, they're being like given tunnel vision almost, you know, look, you know, and forced to have this politics as pop cultures, issues in the forefront, meaningless issues to the average person. And someone say, well, how dare you say that? How dare you? Well, the thing is, when I say meaningless issue, I don't mean it's meaningless in the sense to that individual. I mean it's a non-issue for someone like me that says, well, that's fine and dandy if you want to do that. You know, I'll do what I want to do. You do what you want to do. You know, we don't have to, you know, I'm just not into politics anymore. That's what I was trying to say about getting off of Twitter and stuff. And why I don't do the social media thing. Because it's like too many arguments, too much politics in there. I don't want to support those platforms. I know a lot of people just use them as places to chat and talk and stuff. But it's like I say, I'm busy enough. I'm busy. I do things. And it's like, I don't live in the virtual world. I want to live in the real world. And so, you know, if I can do this without, you know, just touching that thing seemed to want to send up my CPU. Yeah, now it's shot down. I wanted to show that video again. You know, it's terrible that I have to. See, I'm just afraid that this air conditioner, I wanted this air conditioner to last for several more years. And like I say, just turn it on during the dog days of summer, a few days, because I don't spend a lot of time down here. On my second floor is my bedroom slash, you know, where I have my big wall TV and a chair. I've got a compact, like, kind of nice setup there. So I'm down here in the mornings doing this show. I've got my kitchen, so it's like the food place, and my bar is in the kitchen. And then I do my stuff out back. And like by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this sounds weird, but I get up early. I'm upstairs. And so I'm like sitting in my chair, you know, out of my daily work clothes, whatever, you know, gardening clothes or, you know, whatever. And I'm just kicking back, and I've got my bigger screen, wall-mounted TV, and I'm just checking out YouTube, you know, doing stuff, relaxing. And I get, you know, and like I say, I go to sleep, you know, by 8:30, you know, because, you know, I get up, you know, it takes me a while, maybe by 9 o'clock till I get to sleep, but, you know, 9 to 5, I get up at 5 a.m. or something, you know. I've gone to bed earlier than that, and I've gotten up at, you know, I've already started my shows at 4:30 in the morning, but I still had 8 hours of sleep. That's just my life. It's just the way I am. I don't care. So to each their own. But I mean, politics is not my, you know, my thing anymore. I don't care about it. I just think it's a corporatocracy. I think it's all controlled by, you know, corporate interest. You know, what they get done, what they want to get done. And then you've got this World Economic Forum that are basically, it's an organized crime syndicate. And they're the puppeteers, you know, who are over top of these politicians. You know, the corporatocracy, big tech, big pharma, you know, et cetera, you know, the financial people and military contractors, you know, people with agendas, people trying to make a buck, you know, people into the power and greed, you know, thing, right? You know, $1 billion isn't enough. We need more, you know. 3 or 4 houses isn't enough, you know. I need 5 houses and 1 yacht. Nah, I need to have a yacht I could have parked over in Europe, you know. So I need another yacht. You know, how many of these people? I mean, imagine there are people who have like $2 million apartments, you know. It's their apartment, and they're paying. It's a $2 million apartment, you know, and they've got taxes on that and fees that are higher than your rent. You know, their maintenance fees are higher than like most people's rent or mortgage. You know, so it's never enough with them, and that's their game. That's their world. But see, that's not the real world. And that's not the world of beauty, you know. Oh, these people pretend, but, you know, those are the type of people that go to art exhibits and they buy this art of the day, which is really furniture. It's like, no, I don't like that piece because that really won't match with the decor of my Manhattan apartment. Do you have something that has more of a mauve in it? Right? That's how these people talk. This is what they do. This is what art is now. And the curator or whoever, you know, whoever's in charge of the gallery or whatever, well, I'll talk to the artist, you know, and the artist will go create a piece, you know, of a couple of geometric patterns that are mauve, right? And then they'll contact this, you know, buyer and say, you know, I think I found something you might be interested in, right? And they'll sell it to this stooge, you know, for $1 million because it matches their $2 million apartment. Not a house, it's just an apartment. You know, you got to go up an elevator, you know. But that's their world. You know, they don't know nature, right? They don't know the natural world. I mean, they may even have a yacht and go out in the sea, right? But they don't really, they're not into the beauty of nature. They're living in the material world, you know, like the Madonna song. It's the game they play. But see, my question is, how many of them are there? There aren't that many, you know. They number in the thousands. But there's 8 billion people on the planet. And in the U.S., there's like 330 million or more. Who knows how many, you know, whatever the latest count is. And so if you've got thousands of people who are the so-called ruling elitists, right? You know, that's why the media, they have the media as their, you know, voice piece, their control the flow of information. Because what they're trying to do is just keep the hundreds of millions of other people in line, in lockstep, right? They don't want a society that's like looks at the beauty of nature. You know, that's problematic for them. If people started to let me try to do this. I just want to see if I can do this without this thing freaking out. Let's just look at this, okay? Please, shut up. Hold on a second. I got to turn this off. I'm going to go put the air conditioner on because I want to look at this. You still got some time in this show. And so I'll be right back. I'm just going to turn the freaking air conditioner on, even though I don't want to. Yeah, okay. Air conditioner is on. Let's give it a chance to blow some cold air towards my computer. Because I want to continue this, you know, what I'm talking about here. Yeah, I can touch the... I just have this... I'm using what's called a Mac Mini, actually, but it was a $1,000 computer, and I put extra RAM in it, and it also has a solid-state drive, but it also, you know, but it's a small thing, you know. That was a belch being hidden. But anyway, I want to look at this thing. You know, let's put this video. Us to be able to appreciate this. You see? That's why they have, you know, most Jersey and Maryland and places like that, it used to be like 18. So you could go to clubs and bars and stuff when you were 18, 19 years old. And so I was a beachcomber. I was always spending the summers down at the shore. And I had an appreciation for this kind of thing. But see, the average person who's like tweeting right now, this means nothing to them. It means nothing. It means nothing. Maybe they would have some vacation, at Sandals or whatever those things are, right? And it'd be like, oh yeah, it's lovely and romantic and he proposed to me and blah, 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 or whatever. They have these like one time in their life, when they're boozed up or something like that, and get caught up in opened up some kind of romantic type of thing somehow, and maybe or maybe not, they're seeing the beauty of nature or not, or it's just some chemical reaction in their freaking brain, who knows what. But they don't see this as something that is reality and should be reality. This is beauty. This is beauty. This is the beauty of nature. And again, I could be bringing up, pictures of, mountain ranges, like I say, valleys, rivers, lakes. The stars at night, the sky, flowers. You name it. I've got the AC on. Let me turn my smartphone on, see if this doesn't mess with my CPU. I should be able to tap into, I think I have one or two pictures. This wants to put everything in the cloud now, so it's hard to like maintain certain things. But I might have some pictures that haven't disappeared into the cloud. Like they go into the cloud and it's like, where are they? That ice melted, by the way. Let's see if you can. Radiation. But anyway, let me see here. Photos. All right, that's that. Let me see what I have on this one. It's basically the same thing. Okay, so let me go. Let's see this. See what this does. Okay. Johnstown. There's some pictures of my. Oh, my CPU's shooting way up. Some tomatoes. A banana pepper I pulled from my backyard. This gives you an idea of my bar, the wooden bar, right? You all see I have a washer and dryer in there. I joked about this the other day. The one thing about not being married is that, that's that black thing with the calendars on it is the refrigerator behind the bar. So we're looking at from like a angled front of the bar. And here's like a weird picture of, you could see the growth of my backyard. Kind of looks sloppy and unkempt, I guess you would say, in this picture. But you get the idea how it's a long thing, and this was, you know, surrounded by all this growth. And this is where they came in. I had people come in, and you see that mess there in the corner? They ripped up. They actually came into my yard and ripped out that stuff there. And of course I've got, even though my property, see, I'm too close to, this is the neighbor on the brown house is the neighbor's side. And that fence that says private property, that's my gate. That's my property. So they trespassed through there. So I had to hook up a separate alarm system. This is like the other side of my house. You could see I have, it's blurry, but it's like, see, I have cameras and a posted sign, a camera. There's actually I have 2 cameras on the porch. These were potatoes, red potatoes I got from my garden. You know? And these are flowers grown back there. You know, just to give you an idea. This is live. You know, this shows my music computer, all the technical stuff I need in order to put on this show. My other keyboard. And I guess I might as well do it since I've been talking about it. That air conditioner is the old air conditioner there. This is a 100-year-old house. Anyway, we'll turn that off. Just give you an idea of it. And since we've got the air conditioner going, let's keep this one. It's just cool. You know, I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, it's cool. So a show about the beauty of nature, you know. So out, you know, no wonder I have no views. 20 viewers. Because people are brainwashed against it. They just don't see it. You know, like what kind of life are you living when you're living, you know, when the whole center of your existence is this, you know, these devices, instead of, you know, this kind of thing. And the price of the shore now, living down there is awesome. See, I wanted to retire down at the shore. It was my life's dream. Even when when I was 18, 19, I was envisioning myself as having a house, you know, some humble beach house, you know, type of, you know, place at the beach. That was my thing. That's what I wanted. You know? But, you know, these ruling elitists have, like, they bought up all this property and they outpriced it. It's like crazy outpriced. And tax-wise. See, my mortgage, taxes, and insurance where I am right now are less than $200 a month. Mortgage, taxes, and insurance. $200. I mean, you can't even rent a place for $200. And that's my mortgage, taxes, and insurance. I mean, I'm sure that'll go up slightly here and there from time to time, but I mean, still, if it doubled, it still would be lower than most people could find a place to rent. and I have a yard and a garden, and and I'm free. I got a little crazy neighbor, but she's old, in her 70s. She's got a bunch of heart stents. I mean, I hate to say it, but no, it's not bad. I mean, given the choice, I originally, I wish I could have gone back to my hometown area, because I'm sure real estate there would have been comparable. This was a real cheap piece of property that I purchased. But ideally, I wish I could have gone to the shore, even the Jersey Shore. But it's just overpriced. Way overpriced. And the thing is, I've got this idea of, I talked about this in one of the other shows, layers of stress. Stress kills. That's that whole idea where I brought up this thing. Leading causes of death, heart disease, 659,000 people a year, cancer, and all these other things related to that, like stroke and all that stuff. Basically, millions of people dying every year from, because they're stressed out, or they're wearing out their bodies, enslaved, or obsessed, or freaked out by the media and these people who are pushing these issues at them. It's just not right. So I don't know. So that's this show, really. All I was trying to get across, and and I think I was successful. I succeeded in it. And thanks to Trey for those photos, and and that video he took, which was key. It's like, yeah, man, just get in touch with nature, whatever it is, the beauty of nature. And I don't care, it's kind of semi, humorous in a sense, but I mean, let's face it, this is part of life, right? Where is it?
Delicious.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of nature too. Let's face it. And, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, it's like all of this technical, digital, robotics, mechanized, equipment we're using is fine and dandy, and I embrace it and whatever. It's, but they're just tools. It's not, don't make it the center of your existence. People sitting around spending their entire day doing like this and then watching something on it. Like, man. You maniacs. Do you see the absurdity of it all? So I don't know. So I'm basically going to end this thing, but, I'm going to flash up this screen. Yeah, thanks for watching, but visit TonyCaravanLive.com. That site I'll be adding to that, and I'll be adding to my GreatSolarStuff.com. But there's a link. You could find links to everything at TonyCaravanLive.com. I haven't had time to spend to build that site up. It's just basic. It's just the basic things there. But I promise I'll be working on it. The next rainy day, when it's a nice day. Today's like a nice day out there. I'm really going to go out and mess around in the yard for a while. And then when I come in, I'm, dirty. I usually end up taking a shower, and then I'm upstairs, and, that's that. So the next rainy day, I'm going to update that. But visit my website, and hopefully, if you watch this video this long, you're somebody who appreciates the beauty of nature. And somebody's got to do a show about it. Thanks for watching.